Hey, what's going on, Legacy Leaders? Guess what? We're back and we fixed our technical difficulty. So we're actually going to have Rochelle on here in just a minute. She's going to be doing live with us. And so I got it set up so that we could bring her back. I just got to get her invited in and then we should be okay. So let me see when she pops on here. All right. Hey, what's going on, Brittany? How you doing? All right, and so we're just waiting on Rochelle to pop in. How you doing, Bruce? Thanks for tuning in. This is the Legacy Leadership Podcast Continue. Again, where we're changing the world one legacy at a time. And so we're waiting on our guest, Rochelle Armstrong. She's here, all right, and there we go. And she's about to come on. So what I need y'all to do, if you can hear me, go ahead and give me some clap. Let's see, the audio is low. I'm hearing that the audio is low. Let me see if I turn it up real quick, if that'll help out a little bit. All right, so let me know, Bruce, did that help any? Hey, Jeremiah, what's going on? Is the audio all right? Hola, mi hermanita Hidalmis, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. All right, hey, Rochelle, you're here. It's working. So
Hey,
let's go. How have you been?
I'm doing well, Robert. How are you doing?
I am doing phenomenal. I'm glad that everything is working as far as the video and the audio and everything. So I'm loving it. All right, one thing that I want to do really quickly, because for those of you all who didn't hear it, I did a little bit. We're doing the podcast in two parts today. We did a first part, and then we had some audio difficulties and some video difficulties. So we made it come back and work. So a couple of things that we're going to do. I need to introduce you to the phenomenal person that is in your screen right now. This is Miss Rochelle Armstrong. Like I told you before, she's a leadership consultant like yours truly, and she's in the National Education Department at a major health and well-being corporation. She's certified in a number of development courses, all geared to equip and empower leaders and teams with the skills and tools needed for leadership and professional development. And like I told you, amongst all the other things that she's amazing. She's in a group with me that's called the Creative Collaborators, where it's just full of amazing people. I don't know how I got in, but
Same here.
she's going to definitely let you know some awesome things today. So Rochelle, tell the people a little bit about, hey, what's going on, Zakia? Another one of our collaborators. Tell the people about what's going on with you. How's life been, and what you've been doing recently.
Hey, Robert. First of all, thank you so much for your patience. Yes, we had technical difficulties, but no result of Robert's. He's amazing. And I just want to tell you how honored I am to be a guest today. I've been super excited about doing this interview and just sharing a little more about my journey as a leadership consultant, as well as just my leadership journey over the past 22 years. And so, as Robert already stated, I've been at a well-being company, Fortune 50, for 22 years now. I've learned a lot. I'm ready to teach a lot, and I'm ready to get started if you are.
Awesome. So the first thing that we do, like we always talk about, this is the first segment with guests, is your legacy transformation story, right? Here, legacy leadership. We believe that leaders have the power to change the world because we change the way that people see themselves. We
Mm-hmm.
change the things that they think are possible, and that everybody who's ever become anything in the world has had somebody who helped them to transform their legacy. And so all of our guests start off with their legacy transformation journey. What was that moment in your life when you realized that you could be more, that you could do more, and somebody said something or did something? Just tell us about that story.
Certainly. And so years ago, probably about 10 years ago, my husband and I were co-facilitating a Sunday school class. And he's a pastor. So up until that point, he had never seen me speak in front of people. And so after that Sunday school class, he said, you know what? I think you would make a great motivational speaker. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah. And then he started doing the research. And back then they actually had telephone books. Can you imagine that? And he was like, look
I
it up.
remember
You know,
them
they have
days.
they have motivational speakers, like you can really get paid for doing that. So from that conversation, I did go back to school to get my master's degree in business communication with a concentration in organizational leadership. But then I
Hmm.
wasn't thinking about being a leader at my company, remember, because he inspired me to be a motivational speaker, right? But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
throughout that motivation, I was starting to take on stretch assignments and I was starting to do more within the company. So I was starting to get recognized and more exposure. And one of my leaders, he came up to me first to be a team lead. And so just to give you a little
Mm.
more background, at my company, I started out in direct marketing sales. So I kind of worked my way up.
Mm.
So I didn't
Gotcha.
just wake up
Watch out
overnight
now.
and I did leadership. And so I started out doing sales. I was actually
Mm-hmm.
selling to Medicare recipients. And then from there, over 22 years, I've been in various departments from account installation to provider affairs to from an analyst to a consultant. I've done all kinds of jobs. So I know a lot about business, especially the healthcare business, right? But then it came a
Right.
point where I was presented with an opportunity to start leading people. And
Mm-hmm.
initially, I was like, oh no, I don't want any direct reports. I only want to be responsible for me. But I was encouraged because what we'll talk about later is a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times when we identify leaders, we're not necessarily looking at their interpersonal skills or their leadership skills. We're looking at, oh, they're good at that job. So I was good at the
Exactly.
process. I was good at being able to do the job at hand, but wasn't quite confident I could be a leader. And so from
Mm-hmm.
there,
Mm-hmm.
I did take on the challenge. And at my company, we call that a frontline leader or a supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
right under
Mm-hmm.
like mid-level management, a manager. And
Right.
so from
Right.
there, I did that for about 4 or 5 years. I didn't necessarily love it. There was a
Mm-hmm.
lot of challenges. And from there, I wanted to go back to an independent contributor role. But then from
Mm.
there, I transitioned into the education department where I started teaching leaders.
Nice. So
And
I
so,
want to go. I want to go into something that you said really quickly though, because you just there's a lot to unpack in there, and I know that the journey continues going up. But I want to focus in on that moment. Your husband said something to you. Had you thought about being a motivational speaker or getting in front of people before that?
no. So I am so introverted, which is why nobody sees me on Facebook. And this is my first Facebook Live. And so
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
really
Yes.
introverted. So I like to be behind the scenes. I'm very introspective. I like the knowledge. I want to disseminate the knowledge, but I like to do it personally. So motivational speaker, it seemed big. It seemed scary,
Mm.
but I stepped up to it because somebody believed in me.
Ah, that was the thing, and I was wondering, like, what was that moment like? What did it feel like when you knew that he believed in you and he was willing to do this to do the research and to really put his faith in you and push you even a little bit? How did that make you feel?
It made me believe I could do it. Up
Mm,
until that point,
mm,
I had never thought about it. It was never an option. Matter of fact, when I first went to college, I went for pre-law. I thought I was going to be an attorney.
mm.
And imagine this
Okay.
shy, introverted girl, but I can argue, I can defend, I can debate. And so that's the path I thought I was going to take. And then from there, I
Hmm.
changed to psychology. You know, over the years, you kind of
Okay.
keep changing your majors. But he was
Yep.
like, no, you're really good at connecting with people. You're really good at captivating an audience. Like you really should consider doing this. And I remember going through
Wow.
school saying, I'm going to be a motivational speaker. And
Mm,
again, you don't need a title to be the
hmm.
speaker or to be a leader, but I was doing it.
Right.
So whether if I was going to different churches to speak or I was doing different youth groups or programs or going to different women ministries, I was doing it, but still didn't really consider myself a motivational speaker.
Exactly. Right. Now that makes perfect sense. And so as you began to make that transition, because he believed in you, did you feel like you got the ability where you started being able
Oh,
to
yes,
see the vision, right?
absolutely.
And so, and then the funny thing that another thing that you said that I wanted to point out was you got to a point in your journey where you people saw that you were good at what you did, and so then they put you in leadership roles, but that
Yes.
wasn't necessarily what you were going for. Talk a little bit about that process again, because you're like, I didn't really like it. I want to be responsible for me.
Hmm.
I talk to leaders a lot about the fact that our traditional pipeline, what I call the executive leadership pipeline, is a pipeline that basically goes through you're good at something, and since you're good at it, then obviously you'll be good at getting other people to be good at it,
Sure.
which are two completely different skill sets. Talk to us a little bit about what it was like for you getting thrust into into that environment?
Can I be transparent?
Of course, that's what we want here. Authenticity and transparency.
Okay, so when I first got promoted, as you can see, black female, they put me on a team
Mm-hmm.
leader, all white team, and they were reluctant.
Mm-hmm.
They were skeptical.
Right.
They didn't want me as their leader. And so not only did I have to go through the challenges of becoming this new leader, but I had some other issues that had to be dealt with as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't quit once, because I think that's the thing about me. Once I believe in me, there's no stopping me. And I was
Nice.
up for the challenge, and I knew that I was
Mm-hmm.
smart enough, that I was good enough, that I could compete, and I knew that I was going to be a good leader, and I had to show them
Mm-hmm.
that.
Right. And so one of the things that was interesting, you, did you have to develop a different skill set?
I would say as a leader, we're always learning and growing. So when you ask that I have to develop a different skill set, not specifically for that, a lot of that was even
Mm-hmm.
unspoken, right? So nobody
Mm-hmm.
was going to
Mm-hmm.
say to my face, there was a lot of microaggression. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
it was just building trust and letting them see that I was
Right.
competent and that I was
Right.
qualified.
And so you had to build trust with your superiors that you could do the job. And what did you have to do for the team that you led though to get them to perform?
So senior management, they believed in me or they wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
hired me. They
Mm-hmm.
propositioned me with the position. It was the team that I
Gotcha.
had to build trust with, that I had to show them that I
Ah.
was qualified. So that was being interested, doing side by sides, being interested in them as people and their process, what
Mm.
they do. Because leadership was like, you don't have to know the work they're doing. We need your leadership skills.
Yes.
But to build
Yes.
credibility for them, what I had to do was show them I was interested in learning the process for myself. And over time, we
Right.
got there.
Nice. And
Hmm.
so by showing them that you cared about them, that you were interested in what they did, that it wasn't just all about you and your
Mm-mm.
reputation, you were able to build a trust level with them where they were willing to let you in.
Absolutely.
That's deep. And I mean, it's so crazy because a lot of times when we have leaders that get thrust into situations like you said, they have that feeling like I don't want to be in charge of other people. It's like when you're in school and you got that group project, right? And you
Yes.
wind up you like I'm not gonna fail, so I'm just gonna do everybody else's part, even
Uh
though you
huh.
got the one person that doesn't do nothing or any of that
Yes.
type of stuff, right? And that's the fear that a lot of people have, that people won't step up to the plate, that people won't do it, right? And that's why, I
Hmm.
mean, that's why I wrote this book, right? Why can't
Love
people
it.
just do their jobs, right? There's so many people that have that fear, but the
Hmm.
reality on the other side of it is really interesting. Like you said, once you show them that you cared, once you show them that you were interested in them,
Hmm.
what was the result that you got from their behavior? Did they step their game up? Did they come through for you?
And thank you for saying that. Did they step their game up? Because they resisted. They were resistant to me, which in some cases resulted in sabotage. And so as we're
Mm,
trying to get results and meet metrics and reach our goals, and you're kind of against me because you have a personal um, sentiment towards me, we weren't
mm,
accomplishing anything. And it was kind of
mm,
digressing us as a team. And so,
mm.
yes, once we were able to build that trust and I earned their respect and I start getting that credibility, then we
Hmm.
start knocking the numbers, quality, productivity, our engagement scores start going up, but it took work.
Hmm.
And we had to be a
Yeah.
part of the journey. All of us had to be invested.
Yes. 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 And it's so funny. And thank you for putting it that like that. Like before you invested the time, before you got the trust and the respect, they were actually working against you.
Yes.
Isn't that
Hmm.
crazy?
Yeah, I felt it. I'm starting to twitch
Right.
just thinking about it.
Right. And and for so much, and the funny thing about it is, right, a lot of times when you get into that position, you know, 'cause hindsight is always 2020, but when you get into that position, people are like, why are they doing this to me? Right?
Yes,
Why don't they
absolutely.
like me? Why don't they believe in me? But then if you actually flip it from the other side, right? Here's
Hmm.
this person coming in that doesn't know nothing about my job and is about to try to tell me what to do. And they
Yes.
don't care about me. They haven't asked me about, you know, my day. They haven't come in and gotten to know me or anything, but now they're in charge and they're doing this. And people have all types of different reasons, but I'm one. I generally talk to my clients about it like this. The people that you work with are generally not that much different than you are.
That's right.
If you can put yourself in their shoes, if you can put
Hmm.
yourself in their position, what you get to see is, oh, I can understand that maybe I shouldn't have, came at it that way.
That's
Maybe I
right.
should have started off with, hey, I got it. Y'all are very knowledgeable. I'm coming in. And once you flip that switch, once you did, I had the exact same experience. It was so
Nice.
funny. When I was company commander, Bravo company, I came in and we were at, like, and I talk about this in my book, right? We were at 74% readiness. And I'll spare you all the information about what readiness is, but basically it's a metric that we got graded on the same way, right? And I'm sitting there like, this is unacceptable. I'm trying to do stuff and I'm trying to tell people, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. And whoa, I talk a lot with my hands and I just
I
knocked out
do
my
too,
earpiece. All
Robert.
right. And so we're doing all of this stuff and I'm trying to get people to go because, that's the way
Hmm.
that I've done it. I had just come from being the winningest defense counsel in the history of Camp Lejeune. So I'm very, focused on my reputation and how this is going to make me look. And that's the
Sure.
exact same thing. Until I was able to get people to realize that I cared about them and that this project was about us
Us.
and not about me, they were like, okay, you keep on doing that work. I'm going to just do this thing over here that I'm doing.
That's right.
But we were able to flip it and I was able to realize how to take obstacles out of their path and how to be a help to them and how to do what they needed from me instead of trying to get them to do what I
Yeah,
needed from them.
that's
And
right.
amazingly, we went from 70% to 90% in 3 months.
Wow. Kudos to you.
And it was, well, thank you. Thank you. No, but just the same
Take
thing
it.
the same
Yeah.
thing you're talking about. And it's so crazy, right? That what do you see when you talk to other leaders, right? Because having been through this experience and this journey, like we get it, we're on the other
Yes.
side of it. What are some of the things that the leaders that you're teaching, the leaders that you're dealing with, what are some of the myths that they believe about the people that they're leading?
So, one of the cool things of getting promoted within the company to being able to teach leaders that's now in the position that you used to be in is you have walked in their shoes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, from a
Mm-hmm.
relatability standpoint, because I do a lot of coaching, so I don't only do training, I get an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to do one on one coaching. And that gives them an opportunity to just kind of
Right.
be transparent, be free, and we can just have real talk, right? And so, one of the
Right.
things
Right.
that I believe that your question stated was, what is a myth
Yeah.
that
What are
the
some of the myths that they come to you with?
in terms of what their teams think about them as a leader?
Mm-hmm.
They
Or
have
even what they think about their teams as a leader. Right?
so what I mainly hear is the flip side. So if I can kind of speak to
Mm.
that.
No, I like it. Go ahead.
So some of the myths of the leader is that they have all the answers. They're supposed to know everything.
Mm.
So for that leader, it's not that they have to know everything. They do have to know where to go at to get it, but they don't have to
Mm-hmm.
have all the answers. And
Right.
so a lot of times that's a myth. And if they don't know, then they're perceived incompetent.
Exactly. Exactly. Or at least they think that they're perceived incompetent.
Absolutely. Yes. And
Right.
then I think for the leader, kind of going back to the question that you asked, the myth then they have about the associate is they look at them as being incompetent if they can't do the research or get the answers themselves. So it's kind of
Right.
this blame game, right? Because nobody wants to take
Exactly.
accountability just for, again, you got to build that relationship, build trust, get to know one another, and we can share our
Right.
strengths and weaknesses, right?
Right.
And so a lot of
Right.
times for me as a leader, I had to be honest about that. I knew my background is claims. I don't know anything about out of pocket, member deductibles, but I'm willing to learn. And if I don't have the
Mm-hmm.
answer, I'll go get it from someone. So it's allowing yourself to be
Exactly.
vulnerable as well. But if not, they're going to kind of laugh at you or mock you because they
Mm-hmm.
think you're supposed to know everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And talk to me a little bit, and this is something that I talk to my people about and they get, but I want to kind of bounce this off of you a little bit. The idea that failure or making mistakes or not knowing is somehow reflective on your intelligence or your competence.
That's right.
What do you notice? What do you see with that with your clients and the people that you lead?
That's probably one of the biggest areas of defeat, to make
Mm,
leaders believe that they're not meant to be leaders, is they
mm,
get that position. And so we have development levels, right? And
mm-hmm,
so let's use, for example, when you're doing the process. So I know my business, I don't know yours, so I'm gonna use mine as an
mm-hmm.
example. Okay.
No,
So
perfect.
so
Yep.
if I'm coaching a leader that's managing a team, that, let's say, they do member calls, and so they
Mm-hmm,
have a person they want to promote because they have like these really high metrics when it comes to their productivity, their call return, being able to handle the member issue. So they want to promote them to the next level, which is called a team lead. Okay. So
mm-hmm,
now they got the team lead position and they're feeling good about getting the position. But now, although they were a stellar performer and they were a high producer when they were doing that
mm-hmm.
process, well, now you're a beginner learner again as this team lead.
Yes.
So now,
Yes.
psychologically, what they're having to go through is, I'm not the shining star anymore. I'm at the level one. And so then they have to build
Exactly.
up. And then psychologically, you actually go through all of those processes where your confidence isn't there, where you're not
Mm-hmm,
feeling like you can do this because you're at this level
mm-hmm.
one. But if you just keep coaching, keep believing, they'll get to that level two. Now that
Yes.
transferable skills, they start to come into play, right? So now I'm starting to remember what
Yes.
got me here in the first place. And then with that leader encouraging me, I'm starting to feel like maybe I can do it. Then you go to the third level. Well, now you're starting to stick your chest out like, oh, yeah, I got this.
Mm-hmm.
I remember why they promoted me. But you're still kind of cautious because you're not quite
Yes.
at that modeling or demonstrating yet. But then once you get
Mm-hmm.
there, you remind
Yes.
yourself that you're worthy and that you're valued, and that's why you got promoted in the first place. But I took you through all those steps because that's what it takes to get there. And so just
Exactly.
because you're really smart at a process or a system or whatever that job function is, if you get a promotion, you go back to the bottom and you got to start all over again.
Exactly.
And you got to be patient
Exactly.
and know it's not a sentiment or it's not a reflection of your intelligence. You're learning
Mm-hmm.
something new.
Exactly. And that goes kind of back to something you said earlier that I thought was really profound and really powerful. You're like, as leaders, we're always learning,
Always.
right? And there was something, one of our quotes for the podcast last week, we had from John F. Kennedy. What he basically said was something similar to that: learning and leadership are indispensable to one another,
Love
right?
JFK. Yes.
Yes, yes. So it's really cool to bring that kind of back full circle. So
Sure.
talk to us a little bit about your practice. So who are the people that you help with your consulting now?
So I'm still in my day job and I
Mm-hmm.
am doing some independent work as well. So I'll talk a little more about what I do in my day job since that's what consumes
Okay.
most of my day, right? So
Good to
at the
go.
company that I work at, the client I serve, and we'll talk about servant leadership a little later, but I
Mm-hmm.
serve
Mm-hmm.
three different clients within our organization. They're aligned by business segment. And so that's about 10,000 people. And so typically what
Oh wow.
happens is a client will contact me for my services and I'll have a
Mm-hmm.
consultation. I'll identify if this is a coaching issue, if this is a leadership issue, or if this is a training issue. This is why you have to
Nice.
consult because you don't know when they first contact you. And honestly, they don't know. A lot of times
Exactly.
they think just training can fix everything. So at one point in my
Mm-hmm.
role, I was just an order taker. I was just taking orders. Can you do this class? Can you do this class? And my leader pushed back and said, no, we have to consult because we're wasting
Yes.
time. If we're not really getting to the root cause, they're going through the training, they're marking a box, but we're not getting the results that we're looking for. So I take them through the
Yes.
consulting process. And then based on whatever comes out of that, then what we'll do is either set up some coaching sessions, 6 to 8 weeks. I do individual
Mm-hmm.
or group settings. And then what I'll do is ask them during that intake period, what do you need? What do you need as a leader to be successful? What trainings have you already gone through? Always making it all about them. Because what we typically do is tell
Mm-hmm.
them what they need. No, I want to know, what do you need? So I know what your leader said,
Exactly.
and I know what I can do for you. But what can I really
Mm-hmm.
do to help you be successful? So then we'll go through that.
Nice.
And then each week I'll customize training based on their needs. So then they'll
Mm.
show up, they'll share, and I always say it's leader led, meaning you're the leader,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to lead it. I'm here to
Yep.
coach. And we
Yes.
identify what is a coach. I'm here to support you. I believe in you. I will guide you, but you're going to lead this session. And then at the
Mm-hmm.
end, they tell the story. So over the six
Nice.
to 8 weeks, we have this continuous improvement plan. So let's say you want to work on getting your productivity up. And let's say the goal
Mm-hmm.
is 99.7, and right now you're at 98.7. So you will
Mm-hmm.
continue to keep track of how that's improving throughout that 6 to 8 week coaching session. And at the end, you would tell your improvement story, and then you would be able to give that to your leadership as measured outcome.
Nice. Nice. So talk to me about some of the success stories that you've had, because you've been doing this for a while now, and I know that you've done some amazing things. And when in the weekend mastermind that we were with, we talked a little bit about this. And so tell the people about some of the results you've had.
Okay, so one class specifically comes to mind. I did do some coaching for a small group of leaders. And at the end, what I did is I put together like this portfolio, just kind of highlighting the things that reminded me of them during our 6 weeks together. And so people like to know that you pay attention because they want to know that they
Mm-hmm.
matter. And so what's really
Mm-hmm.
important for me when you're dealing with either first level or mid level managers is they know that these sessions are time to invest in them, and it's not about their associates as much as it is about them. So what I did
Mm-hmm.
for each of them is put together, I called it a virtual vision board, or
Mm-hmm.
a virtual board of, like, if someone was really aggressive but they really didn't show up with confidence, I would put a lion to help them to believe in themselves.
Mm.
Or I would
Nice.
put like a reaching hand, someone reaching back because you seem so supportive and you always want to help people get there. And it may have had like 6 to 8 things on this board, and they were
Mm-hmm.
really just taken aback that I had took the time. Let's say we had about 8 people in each session, and
Mm-hmm.
I was able to put together this board of them at our closing ceremony of what each of them brought to the experience. And they were really
Mm-hmm.
just amazed that I was able to remember those things about them and be able to really celebrate them and the success that they had made over the 6 weeks. So, what one of the leaders
Mm-hmm.
told me, she said, Rochelle, before I did these coaching sessions, I didn't believe that I was a good leader. I had been in my role for
Mm.
13 years, and I was really ready to look for a
Wow.
different position. And she said, from this experience, and just not just me, but her peers and us all coming together to have, we would vent. Some people would laugh, we would cry, like we were in this together. But at the end, we were celebrating. And she said, and from
Nice.
that, I believe that I'm meant to be a leader and I have the confidence to keep going. And
That
so
is
that's the
amazing.
type of success you want, is that this, she was meant to be a leader. But we experienced
Mm-hmm.
burnout, and she was just burnt
Mm-hmm.
out. She was
Right.
underappreciated. And
Mm-hmm.
these coaching sessions just made her recharge, re-energize, and believe in herself again.
Right, right. Now that is powerful. That is powerful. Yeah. I talked to, like I said, I was just doing a conference this weekend and kind of explaining to the attendees the difference between the different kind of tiers of leadership. And the way that we kind of explain it is executive versus empowering versus legacy leadership, right? And the executive leader is what we're all kind of hardwired to, like you talked about. I'm gonna be good at this. I'm
Mm-hmm.
become a professional at it. I'm gonna get a good reputation at it, and then people give me other people that I got to get good at it as well. And most of us say, okay, look, I know how to do it. Do it the way I do it, and you'll be good. And what I talk to people about is that is it's an effective style of leadership. It's a way to do it. And there's a lot of executive leaders that do it that way. They get really, really good results. But the problem is it's a burnout style of
Yes, it
leadership.
is.
It's tremendously the mental and the anxiety and the psychological stress and just the time consuming nature of it, right? Like there's some studies that I've gone over recently, and they talk about, 72 hours is the average amount of time spent at work for executives, managers, et cetera, with smartphones on their
That's
hips and
right.
all the rest of that, right? The CEOs have above average divorce rates, largely because of the fact they spend so much time at work, they can't have a life balance. And it's that thing that you just talked about, right? That burnout factor where people actually are wondering, man, am I supposed to do this? But when you can teach them how to empower others, when you can teach them how to get out of themselves and into others,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing that change. And so, I mean, I get super excited about this stuff. So I love these stories. Thank you for telling that story. Because again, a legacy was changed based on leadership, based
Thank
on
you, Robert.
understanding leadership. So thank you for being a fellow legacy leader, changing the world one legacy at a time. One thing I want to talk about, moving kind of into the last segment of the show, what are some things that you're working on now that you're really excited about?
Yay, I get to share that, right?
Yes.
So, as I stated, I'm really interested in doing this as an independent consultant. I
Mm,
get the opportunity to touch so many lives at the company that I work at all around the world. I get to work with amazing people, but we're still in the healthcare industry, right?
hmm hmm
I come from a place, if you have something good, you share it. So I'm super excited to come outside of corporate America and be able to touch other businesses, schools, churches, and be able to use my years of experience and certifications and my background to help build leaders even outside of this health and well-being company. That's one thing.
Nice.
The
Nice.
other, I have written and have the manuscript for my book. It's called Simply Complex. Yay. And
Nice.
so
Yes.
I'm going through the publishing stage for Simply Complex, which is really about self worth and identity. So, one thing that I've noticed after being in corporate America for 22 years, we all have public personas that we have,
hmm
which is
hmm
basically a mask due to our gender or our age or our social, economic or background or our past. We just come in mass. But I find
hmm
that you get the best of people when you get to meet the authentic person and you get to see them for their true identity. But how do we get there? Well, you got to read the
Right.
book to figure it out. All right, so that's the
Nice.
second
Nice. I
thing.
like
And
that.
then the
That was a good
third
tease. That was
is
really good.
it's very similar to you, which it kind of goes hand in hand, right? It's to kick off my podcast.
hmm
And so
Okay.
it would be
Nice.
called Simply Complex as well. I'll be doing two-part interviews. I'm really interested in people's journey. And so they'll talk about
Nice.
their journey and how they got there. And you, as the viewer, would be able, as you're listening, to stereotype and use your preconceived notions as to who you think is what based on what they're sharing, based on why we mask
mm,
anyway. It's because of the
gosh.
preconceived notions people have of us. And hopefully at the end, you will have a greater understanding of people who they are, not based on what's been projected in the media or socialization,
Nice.
but
I
based
like
on who
that. I
they
like
are,
that.
based on how they believe and see themselves. And so that's the three
Wow.
things.
Well, I'm really excited for all of those. So, everybody out there, all my Legacy Leader family out there, make sure you get the book, Simply Complex. Make sure you tune into the podcast, Simply Complex, when it comes out. We're definitely going to shout it out over here, the Legacy Leadership Podcast, and on all of our channels when it comes out. I'm really excited about it. Talk to the people a little bit about where they can get in touch with you, how they can find you. Do you have a website yet, or email, or somewhere that they can reach out to you if they want to talk to you about your services?
Nice. Thank you for asking. So, currently, as you all have already seen, if you joined earlier, I'm not into social media the way I should be. So, that's something that I'm working on, right, Robert? Creative
There we
collaborators,
go.
you're going to help me
Always
get there.
learning.
And so,
Yep, yep.
currently, you can reach out to me on Facebook, Rochelle Armstrong. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Rochelle Armstrong, and more information to come on the website and other social media sites.
Good to go. And then I just went out and shot a comment out there for everybody, so it's linked. And a matter of fact, I think I did that. Let me put it in the right place now. Um, and so that's out there. So you can go ahead and click there and get in touch with Rochelle. Yeah, yeah, it just popped up. All right, perfect. And then we've got one fun question to ask you before you leave, right? So here's the deal. You've got $1 million,
Oh gosh.
$1 million,
Uh-huh.
right? You've only got 1 month to spend it, and you can only give 20% to charity. So you can't go give it to the church. So what are you gonna do with that $1 million?
Can I share with family and friends?
Can you share? You got to spend it though.
I
So
gotta
it can't.
spend
You
it. Can
can't
I
just
can
put it
I
in their bank
invest it?
account.
I can't invest it
You gotta
either?
spend it. It's gotta get gone. No
I'm
saving, no investing, no forward thinking. It has to be gone. Think Brewster's Millions.
Okay, let's go to Nigeria. Let's go to Hawaii. Let's go to
There
the
you go.
islands. We're going on
I love
vacation.
Jamal said she's gonna give it to her beautiful, to her
Oh, is
lucky
that what he
husband.
said? Oh, okay. I'm gonna give some to my amazing husband. I'm going to get a big,
You're gonna
beautiful
take him on the
house.
trips with you. There you go.
He's
There
going on the
you go.
trips, right? Okay. But
Exactly right.
we're gonna spend that $1 million on a lot of good
There
stuff.
you go. There you go. I like it. I like
And you're gonna get
it.
some too, Robert, okay? You wanna go on vacation with
Hey,
us?
I'm cool with going on a trip. Yes, take me on vacation. We're gonna make it happen. No, thank you. I really want to thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure. You are phenomenal. And so thank you just so much. I love to talk to specifically other leadership consultants, leadership coaches, because it's good for people to see that we wasn't always great at
That's
leadership either.
right.
Right?
And still
Like, yes, we've
growing,
been
right?
studying it for 20 years, but it's a learning process.
Yes.
I'm constantly learning because you see the world through your eyes, through your lens.
Sure.
And part of leadership, the key to leadership is being able to see the world through the eyes of the person that you're leading, right?
That's right.
And so I talk to people about, the difference between kind of a pioneer and a guide, right? A pioneer goes and cuts the trail and blazes it, but you're on your own to follow
That's
them and
right.
go the way that they went. The guide is the exact opposite. They've been up and down the trail, and their job is to help you get to the other side.
You're
And that's,
teaching.
to me, what leadership is all about. So I want to thank you for being here and, kind of confirming that and affirming that again so that people don't just hear it from me. They don't think that it's just me saying it. So thank you tremendously. I love your journey and the transformation that you're making, the lives that you're changing. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much, Robert. You
No
have a good
problem at all.
evening.
You do the same. I will see you later.
See you soon.
All right.
All righty.
And bye-bye. And so for the rest of you all out there, my legacy leaders, thank you all for tuning in and sticking in with us. Remember that every leader has the ability to change the world one legacy at a time, because each and every one of us have a phenomenal gift, a certain greatness that is in us to manifest. And as a leader, you can be that guy. You can help to facilitate that manifestation of that greatness, the bringing of that gift to the world in the people that you lead. So remember, go out and change the world one legacy at a time. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.